What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of My Counseling Corner. My name is Luke, and as you can see, we are not in the counseling corner today. As a matter of fact, we are on my back porch. For those of you that don't know, my primary job is working as a school counselor, and summer is here, which means that students are no longer in school, which means that I am no longer in school. And seeing as how my office is about an hour away, made more sense for me to just do this on my back porch. So instead of the counseling corner, our next few videos are going to be my counseling back porch, I guess. We'll still call it the counseling corner, just for simplicity's sake. I don't think it's going to be any problem. I just did a practice video a few minutes ago. The sound seems fine, but if the environment or if the outside distracts you, I apologize. We'll just have to try to get through it together. But I think it'll be fine. I don't think it's going to be a problem. So before we get deep into this video, let me start with some housekeeping stuff. In my last video, which should be the primary video on the channel right now, the main one that's already up when you go to the channel, I talked a little bit about some changes I'm making to my videos, some things that got coming down the pike for me professionally, some changes that are going to happen. I don't want to harp on that too much, but I do want to keep everyone up to date who haven't gone back and looked at my old videos. So I still want everyone to be on the same page. So we'll touch on it a little bit. I mentioned that I am starting to delve into the private practice, mental health, community counseling realm. And I'm going to be working at the folks at Apex Counseling, which is a counseling clinic here in Morgantown. And because of that, I am shifting my practice and my focus to really hit on two main populations of people. Apart from the school counseling, which I'm still going to be doing, I'm still working as a school counselor, working with middle school kids. But in my practice, outside of school, I'm going to be focusing on, one, student athletes, and two, children, especially young children, who have been removed from their homes due to some type of intervention where either DHHR or law enforcement had to come and intervene and remove a child from the home because it was unsafe. Those are the two primary groups that I'm going to be working with coming up. So because of that, I'm going to be dedicating these next few videos to those specific groups as well. So one thing that I want to point out here is that I know that a lot of my viewers that I have right now, a lot of my subscribers are students of mine, and you probably don't fall into either one of those categories, and that's fine. What I would ask is, if you know someone who maybe falls into one of those categories, or if you know someone who may fall into one of those two categories, please feel free to send them my way. Send them to the channel. That way, they can still hear this information. It can still be helpful for them, and they can maybe, if they're feeling like it's necessary, they can reach out to me at Apex Counseling and work with me in the future if that's something that they're interested in. Or just I can help them in other ways by referring them to somewhere where they, can get help or however. As long as this information is reaching the people that it's meant for, as long as it's being helpful, that's really my goal here. So even if you don't want to send them to the channel, even if you just want to take my advice and just repeat it to them, that's fine too, as long as they're getting the information, as long as it's accurate information. So, this video is going to be working with the latter of those two groups. Okay, so this video is focusing on kids who have been removed from a home. So I'm speaking primarily here to the caregivers, the adults who are going to be receiving those type of kids coming from those homes. Whether you're working at a residential placement or temporary housing that receives those kids until they can find more permanent placement, or if you are that permanent placement, if you are a foster parent, or if you are a family member who is receiving a niece, nephew, whatever it is, granddaughter, grandson from a home because they had to be removed, this video is for you. Okay, I guess you could consider this a top 3, although it's not really top 3. There's not any specific order, like one is more important than the other. These are just 3 things, 3 tips, 3 things to keep in mind when you are taking on those type of kids. When you're accepting them into your home, into your care, these are some things that you really should know or think about, or that you're going to want to understand. The first one is this: be trauma informed. Here's what I mean by that. I don't know about in other states. I'm really only speaking from my experience working in West Virginia. But for a child to be removed from their home, there has to be something very egregious to occur that forces DHHR or law enforcement to come into that home and take those children. Something, either one very significant event where it results in someone getting very much hurt, or whether it's a series of things over a long period of time. Either way, those kids coming to you are going to be, they will have experienced some type of major trauma. It can be just the single event, what we'd call the acute trauma, or the chronic trauma, where it extends over a long period of time. Either way, it's very important to know what type of effects trauma has on people, especially young kids. Trauma can do a lot. It can affect the way you think. It'll affect your brain. It'll affect the way you act. It even affects your health to an extent, depending on the type of trauma you've experienced. So that's what I would say is probably one of the most important things you can do, is be trauma informed, or as we call it, trauma trained. Have some experience. Have some understanding of what trauma does to kids. Have some understanding of what you can do as the new primary caregiver in their lives to help them through that trauma. So that's the number one thing, is be trauma trained. The second thing is this: there's a lot of assumption out there that a lot of folks have, that whenever kids are removed from a home that's deemed unsafe, or when they're taken from their primary caregivers who were either neglectful or abusive, a lot of people think that those kids want that change to happen. In my experience, very, very rarely has that ever been the case. Very rarely has a kid ever said to me, "Oh man, I'm so glad that I was taken out of mom's house," or "Wow, it's about time someone finally finds a new home for me. I don't have to live with dad anymore." Very rarely do kids ever feel at ease, the fact that they are just taken out of their homes, the homes they've maybe lived in for years, maybe their whole lives. And it doesn't make sense at first. When you think about it, it's like, well, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they want to be taken out of an awful situation? Well, the reason is pretty simple when you think about it. That's their home that they've grown up in their entire lives. That's what they're used to. That's what they're comfortable with. That's the environment where they have learned to survive. Imagine if you were taken from your home and just transplanted and put into another country where you had no idea about the culture, no idea about the customs, no idea how to speak the language. Imagine how stressful that would be. That's what it's like for a lot of these kids. They're moving to a place that has brand new rules, brand new structure, brand new people that they may not even know. Most kids that I've spoken with, that I've worked with personally, have all said that they would rather stay in a home where these awful things happen than to move to a completely new place where they don't know what to expect. It all stems out of that fear of uncertainty. So that's the second thing. Don't expect it to be an easy transition. Expect a long and difficult road. Expect a lot of fear, which is going to result in a lot of anger. So just know that going into it, that it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy for the kid, and I would argue it's more difficult for the kid than it is for the adult in the situation. So just know that, okay? Don't expect for them to be happy about the change, okay? Expect for it to be a very difficult transition. The third thing is this, and I kind of went back and forth on how exactly I wanted to word this, and I think this says it pretty well. If you are an adult who's going to be a caregiver for one of these kids who's been removed from their home, really be open, okay, and communicate. Talk with the child about what your role is going to be. Okay, as a primary caregiver, you are not going to take the place of their parent. You're not going to be their counselor or their therapist. Okay, you are simply there to be exactly that, to be the primary caregiver. Okay, I think what a lot of people do, they end up tricking themselves up because they try to take the place of their parent, and they try to become their new parent, or they try to take on too many roles, like, oh, well, I'm going to make sure this kid gets through all their issues. I'm going to be their counselor. I'm going to be their parent. I'm going to be their role model. A lot of times, it's really best is to pick one specific role, or maybe a couple roles, and focus on those things. And I realize that this sounds confusing, but I'm going to try to do my best to explain it. You really need to be open with the child about what you want your relationship with them to look like. Okay, so this is an example of where you're going to have to trust that this child knows what they want for themselves. Okay, you're going to have some long conversations, some very in-depth conversations about what your role is going to be and what you want your relationship to look like with this child. Okay, they may not want a new parent. They may not want someone who's going to smother them with love and affection. They may not want that. They may not want someone who's going to want to, talk with them every single day, like real in-depth conversations about their lives or their choices or how their day was. Or on the flip side, they may not want someone who's just going to leave them be. Maybe they do want someone who's going to be very engaged and very affectionate. They may want that. My point is, you have to understand, or you have to find out what it is that kid needs in that moment. And that may change. It may be one thing one day, and the next day it's something completely opposite. But just be prepared to have those conversations, and be prepared to ask that child, what do you want from me right now? What do you need me to be? What kind of caregiver do you need me to be? Okay, that's really what it boils down to, is having those conversations, figuring out what the kid needs on a day-to-day basis. So those three things, in my experience, are what kids have said to me. Those are things that I've witnessed just personally in my own life and experiences I've had. So I hope that's helpful. If you are an adult who is going to be in that situation where you're receiving a child who's been removed from their home, try those things out. I guarantee you, on some level, they will be helpful. So that's pretty much it. We're going to start winding the video down. Like I said, in future videos, expect me to be talking about those two populations specifically, kids that were removed from the home and student athletes. The next video I'm going to be putting out is, we're still focusing on kids who have been removed from their homes, although we're probably going to be talking with the kids themselves. So this video I was really talking to the adults who were taking on those cases or taking on those kids to be in their home. Next video, I'm going to be talking about 3 things that the kids should know, that the kids should be aware of if they find themselves in that situation, and if they're going to be going to a brand new home where there may be a lot of new things happening in that new home. So this one was for adults. The next one's going to be focused primarily on talking to the kids. So that's what you can expect coming up soon. I'm going on vacation here in the next few weeks, so it may be a while before I put out another video. If I find time to do it over vacation, I'll go ahead and do it. But that's what you guys can expect from me coming down the road. So again, hope this was helpful. I hope you all have a great summer. I hope you have a great day, and thank you for watching. Spread the word. If you know someone who might be interested in this stuff, send them my way, send them to the channel. But if not, thanks for watching. Have a great day.